Hi, we are here to do our Q&A.
My name is Ranchod. I'm an immigration lawyer. I've been practicing for over 22 years.
So we have a question here from Tiffany. My boyfriend is French and we are living in Lyon. I'm a US citizen. We want to move to the US this year. Do you recommend getting a fiancé visa to marry there or getting married before going? So this question here has a number of considerations. The reason people like to file fiancé visas over an immigrant visa, otherwise known as a marriage-based green card, is because they are a lot faster. At the California Service Center, for instance, the I-129F, the first step of the fiancé visa, is taking about 8 months, Tiffany. If we look at the I-130 for an immigrant visa, is taking 16 months. You have an 8-month difference just for that first step. So it's a lot faster for the fiancé visa. However, if you go and apply for the immigrant visa, which is the marriage-based green card when you're living abroad, you'll come in with the green card versus just the fiancé visa where you're gonna have to apply for the green card. A lot of people decide to do the fiancé visa because it's just faster and they want to be with their loved one as soon as possible. How long are I-601 waivers taking? So many of you know the I-601 waivers, I-601A waivers, the processing times have been getting longer, even though the Biden administration had promised that they would come down, especially with the filing fee increase. Right now, I-601 is taking 30 months. Do I see that coming down with Trump? No. They did say, oh, we're going to keep processing times down, and that's why we're raising filing fees. Some of the applications that was true for humanitarian cases, such as I-601A waivers, J1 waivers, I-601 waivers, they either stayed the same or saw them increase. I got a 4-year work permit with deferred action under the U visa in 2022. How long I have to wait for actual approval? So I can just share my experience with you because U visas are hard to predict because they have such a big backlog. They only allow 10,000 cases a year to be approved. Our latest case that we had approved was the end of 2016. So it depends on when you applied for your case, but that can kind of give you an idea of when cases are getting approved. When filing for the I-130 and 45, can you file for a vaccination waiver? Some people are opposed to the vaccinations, and in that case, we do a vaccination waiver. For instance, the most popular one is the COVID-19 vaccine. We do those for people who don't want to get that, especially now that COVID is over with. So in that situation, you can file both simultaneously. You need to have a very well articulated argument based off of religious reasons or spiritual reasons, and it needs to be well documented. You could also file it without the I-601 waivers being filed simultaneously. But if you do that, just expect to get an RFE, and then that could make times increase longer than if you did it simultaneously, because of course you have to wait for the RFE to be issued. I'm from Brazil under the J1 visa. I have government funding. Can I still file for a persecution waiver if I visited my family last December? For a persecution waiver, you have to have fear of persecution if you go back to your home country. So then the fact that you visit your family is going to raise questions as, do you really fear persecution if you go back to your family? But that could be a negative factor in your persecution waiver. So there's a number of considerations of why you might be eligible for a persecution waiver, and I'd love to know more about what those reasons are and why you were able to go back. Has things changed since the time that you went back? Did something happen when you went back that made you fearful? You may also want to look to a hardship waiver if you are eligible, if you have a U.S. citizen spouse or lawful permanent resident spouse, or you have a U.S. citizen child or lawful permanent resident child. Can an undocumented immigrant who's a victim of immigration scam fraud qualify for a visa? My friend was promised by a fake lawyer that she'll get her papers and paid so much money, but they can't be found. People will call themselves notarios. They're not able to practice law lawfully in the United States, unless some of them have specific ability to just fill out forms, but that's it. In most cases, they are not able to advise on the law itself. They're practicing law without a license. And so be very careful of that. So that probably would not qualify for U visa, unfortunately, because of the fact that for U visa, you have to be a victim of a violent crime, and that's not a violent crime. What are the I-601A waiver times? I-601As are taking about 43 months, so you sent yours 2 years ago, so you got another year and a half to go. So it is taking a long time with these I-601A waivers. Everything's slowed down with COVID. Expect it to get longer with the Trump administration. My USCIS 601A case shows that fingerprints were taken. What does that mean? So when you file for the 601A, you will also have biometrics taken. So that's when you go in for fingerprinting, they take your picture, they want to make sure you don't have a criminal record. The I-601A is primarily to overcome unlawful presence. It's not designed to overcome crimes. Now, there are certain types of crimes, for instance, a DUI. You may still be able to get a 601A waiver in that situation, but you have to be really, really careful. If you recently got a DUI, would not recommend you travel to the embassy, probably get a denial at the embassy, even if the 601A was approved here. However, if a length of time has passed, consult with an immigration attorney in that situation. But other types of crimes, the 601 form is appropriate for overcoming certain types of crimes, not the 601A waiver. Anyways, I got off on a tangent here. Biometrics is part of the 601A waiver process. All right, well, I want to thank everyone for joining. Please post your question, and I try my best to get to questions. Thanks, everybody. Bye.